Thank you for watching the Citizens Report with William Donahue. On this show, we search for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the world around us through the lens of an American citizen. Hi, this is the Citizens Report. I'm William Donahue. It's October 15th, and this video will be based on this report, which you can find at thecitizensreport.com. Share it, download it, print it off, email it to people, however you can. Get this out there, spread the news, and tell people about the Citizens Report. So for our first show, I'd like to thank you for being here and watching. This report includes information regarding the major events driving reactionary governance, despite connections to the premeditation and planning of the events. Our first section is World War escalations, which I defined as tensions between individual countries that are tied into larger alliances will lead to world war. So this report is a collection of different articles from different sources. Generally, they're newer articles, but I kind of pull them from all different time periods and from all different sources so that we can zoom out and see the bigger picture all in one place. So for our first article, it says, Israel War. Hamas surprised and worried by how successful attack 2 years in the making was. This is from the Washington Examiner. It says, last weekend's devastating attack on southern Israel was 2 years in the making, according to senior Hamas official, who admitted the terrorist group was surprised by how successful it had been. The official, Ali Baraka, also acknowledged that Hamas kept itself out of recent skirmishes led by other Gaza-based terrorist groups in order to convince Israel it was more focused on aiding Palestine. Blinken promises U.S. will back Israel as Netanyahu vows to destroy Hamas. So the rest of this article is, you can follow the link on this page here and read the rest of the article. I have some things highlighted, as you can see in yellow on the report, but the main point of this article was that this had been planned 2 years in advance. Israel has a very good intelligence system, and they also have what's known as the Iron Dome, which is anti-air defense that was supposedly shut off or malfunctioning during this attack. So that's the main takeaway there. And I have a little bit of analysis in the report. It's in a different font. It says, leading up to this attack, Hamas made sure to keep plans of the attack as quiet as possible, only allowing a small circle of their leaders to know about the attack. They used channels known to be surveilled by Israeli intelligence to put out a message of peace and to create the illusion Hamas was not planning anything. For our second article, it says, Israel dropped bombs near Gaza border crossing, packed with civilians who'd followed officials' pleas to flee, reports. So what you're going to be seeing on the screen is the Louvre in Paris being emptied out, and also the Versailles Palace. They're being evacuated because of an Islamist bomb threat, and I'm assuming that this is a pro-Palestine terror event. So for this article, this is from MSN. Israel on Tuesday dropped bombs next to the only border crossing allowing civilians to flee Gaza after the Israeli military directed Palestinians looking to escape airstrikes in the war against Hamas toward the crossing. So they bombed the crossing that they told people to go to, trapping all the people in the Gaza Strip, and then they bombed the Gaza Strip afterward because Hamas terrorists were among the civilians. So this airstrike was the third Israeli attack on the crossing in the last 24 hours. The next clip here, you're going to see a pro-Palestine protest, which I believe took place in London. So what you just saw in that clip was the response to Israel's bombing of the Gaza Strip. These terrorist attacks are taking place all over the world now, and they're pretty much to be expected in the United States due to the open border policy and uh, Hamas's coordination with the cartels. I analyzed on the article, or my analysis for the article says Israel responded to the attack by bombing the exit from Gaza, trapping Hamas terrorists in the city as well as civilians, almost forcing them to use humans as a shield. Many voices in politics and among celebrities and influencers are calling for the Gaza Strip to be bombed while civilians are trapped. Those who support Palestine are celebrating this attack and saying it is justified due to Israel's treatment of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The next article it says Putin cautions Israel that ground attack on Gaza would be unacceptable. Putin said Israel had been subjected to an attack unprecedented in its cruelty. Then he later said about the attack, the civilian casualties would be absolutely unacceptable. That part I do agree with. He goes on to say that the only solution is that a Palestinian nation is created and that East Jerusalem would be the capital of this Palestinian nation. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the only solution, but uh, bombing the Gaza Strip is definitely not the solution. The next article says Polish election. Ukraine looms large as far right party with anti war view could hold the balance of power. NATO member Poland goes to the polls Sunday in a parliamentary election that could have major consequences for Russia's war against Ukraine depending on its outcome. So Poland kind of is having a little infighting as to whether they should continue to support Ukraine. I could see why they wouldn't want to after Ukraine sent missiles into Poland and tried to blame it on Russia. And the article says that they've accepted millions of Polish or millions of Ukrainian refugees, welcomed refugees into their own homes. So, Polish people are getting sick of this war. The American people are getting sick of funding it. Um, The next article says Biden says it's likely Americans are among Hamas hostages, 11 killed in conflict. 11 American citizens, I'm assuming. Biden said, "The safety of American citizens, whether at home or abroad, is my top priority as president. While we are still working to confirm, we believe it is likely that American citizens may be among those held in Hamas, or by Hamas." He continued, "I have directed my team to work with the Israeli counterparts on every aspect of the hostage crisis, including sharing intelligence and deploying experts across the United States government to consult with and advise Israeli counterparts on hostage recovery efforts." That part I understand, the hostage recovery efforts, uh, because that's very important, but the bombing of the Gaza Strip and the reaction to this, the United States has already committed support. Here they're committing more support. The next article says first U.S. weapon shipments arrives in Israel after deadly Hamas attacks. The first shipment of U.S. weapons arrived in Israel Tuesday as the country wages war against Hamas, according to Israeli defense forces. So, before any of the facts came out about this attack or about the bombing or about the potential pre-planning, the United States is already reacting, promising support, and sending weapons. For the next section, it's COVID-19. COVID-19 was a U.S. funded bioweapon created in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill High, and moved to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where it is believed to be used as a controlled crisis. Anyone who is still watching this show after the first 8 minutes or so probably has an idea of what happened with COVID. That's a pretty good summary of the beginning, the origin of COVID. Um, this first article says, "Feeling terrible after your COVID shot? Then it's probably working. Fever, chills, and fatigue may all be signs of vigorous antibody production," a new study finds. Uh, Chills, fatigue, headache, and malice that can often follow vaccination may be signs of a vigorous immune response. So can some of the other side effects that are not mentioned here. The vigorous immune response is the problem when it becomes too vigorous. The next article says, as U.S. rolls out new COVID vaccines, some face hiccups getting appointments. I'm not going to read the whole article, but uh, it describes a little kid who went to the ICU for having RSV 4 years before the pandemic. Then, when the pandemic started, he got sick again and was re-hospitalized. So this doesn't have anything to do with the pandemic at all, other than um, other than their experience at the hospital. It says that unfortunately, Paramore, that must be his last name, was among many people in the United States in recent weeks who were unable to schedule an appointment to receive the latest COVID vaccine, had their appointments canceled, or were informed by insurance companies that they would not cover the cost of the shot. So, this article, the first article of the COVID section, is explaining that the COVID vaccine has side effects that are caused by vigorous antibody production. And I would like to say that the reason the insurance companies aren't covering the shot is because of the same vigorous antibody production. So there's that. Um, the next clip is a pretty good clip because it shows a man who is going after government officials in Massachusetts. Uh, this counselor swears at the man in a board meeting after being accused of a conflict of interest. Her name is Lillian Maselli, and she is accused of working for both the government and a company or an entity that makes money off of the COVID shot. And she is accused of using her power with this one job and with her position as a counselor to make money despite what's going on with the COVID shot.
I am not, it's a conflict of interest, okay?
Really?
Yes, it is. I don't
You represent the town.
I don't represent Analog to the town.
You represent the firefighters. You
I
represent
do not
the public safety
represent
personnel.
the job that pays my family's food,
Thank
housing,
you. Have a
and
nice
everything,
night.
okay?
Yeah, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Good thing
Yeah.
no one in town likes you.
Go-
Anything you say.
Go with some ice cream.
Yeah, why don't you go yourself? Can we get the police here so this guy doesn't attack any of us? If he's gonna be here, I am not. I'm done with this shit and him.
Make motion to adjourn.
You want to just go through the?
No, we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Just make sure that those. Yeah, that's all. Make sure. All those in favor? 4-0.
An interesting clip we just saw there from a public servant speaking and flipping out on a member of the public. Our next section is called Asylum Seekers, which I defined as someone who follows a legitimate process of applying to enter the United States by claiming to be escaping their country due to wars, political persecution, famine, or other such reasons. This process requires an application ahead of time. It's not just an open invitation to cross the border. So for our first article, this one is from October 12th. It says, Cheektowaga settles court case over asylum seekers living in hotels. Cheektowaga is in Buffalo. That's where the Citizens Report is filmed. And I was watching the news and I saw this story beginning to unfold 2 months ago. So there's some interesting things here. It says, the asylees staying at a hotel on Dingan Street must be relocated to one of the 2 Genesee Street hotels by Monday. On Dingan Street must be relocated to one of the 2 Genesee Street hotels by Monday. This article was written October 12th. I work right by the Dingan Street Hotel, so I see the asylum seekers, I saw them when they were there before. This article is from August 28th. Migrants moved from Dingan Street Hotel to Amherst. Now, the day that this happened, I watched the news, and I saw this article, or this headline come across, and it said that they moved them to a hotel in Amherst. And I looked at my wife and I said, a hotel? Why not tell us the name of it? There should be some transparency. That was August 28th. Now this is October 12th. And they're saying that they're going to move them to a hotel, from the hotel on Dingan Street to one of the 2 hotels on Genesee Street. So there was a bunch of crime resulting from the migrants being at the Dingan Street Hotel. They said they moved him to Amherst due to a restraining order. The restraining order got cleared up, and now they're moving him to a hotel on Genesee Street from the Dingens Hotel. So how did they have him? How did they get a restraining order, move him to Amherst, and then clear up the restraining order and move him from Dingens to Genesee when they weren't at Dingens? They should have been at Amherst. So these two articles conflict, and they said a Amherst hotel on the news, on the television. So I think that nobody really knows what's going on as far as this is concerned. People know what's going on, but they're trying to keep the majority of the public in the dark. The next article says, why Biden is building Trump's border wall. This is from The Week. Remember Donald Trump's big, beautiful wall? Joe Biden, who once said not another foot of wall would be completed, is building it. The White House announced last week it will take immediate action to complete a new portion of barrier wall in Texas at the border with Mexico, Texas Tribune reported. A startling step amidst an influx of migrants that has bedeviled Democrats. The news sparked outrage among migrant advocates who once backed Biden in his 2020 challenge to Trump. So, the video that I'm going to play for you now is a video of migrants entering the United States in mass numbers, riding on a train. And I'll just let that play while I read this last one. The facts behind fentanyl's lethal rise among Americans. You can hear them yelling in the distance, celebrating that they're coming in. The facts behind fentanyl's lethal rise among Americans. This article's from yahoo.com. It says, fentanyl has become a leading cause of death in the United States, an issue that the presidential campaign trail and the subject of major diplomatic efforts by the Biden administration. As Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and the other top administration officials traveled to Mexico this week, in part to discuss strategies to stop the flow of fentanyl across the border. Here are some key facts about the drug that is lowering the life expectancy and playing a role in the nation's politics. So this fentanyl is making it across the border because of the open border policy. It's lowering the U.S. life expectancy, and now we're seeing the Biden administration react to try and save face. So they're going to build the wall. They're going to send Anthony Blinken down there. So that video of the train that you saw is probably, if I had to guess, how they're getting in with fentanyl. They're coming in massive groups of people. They're bringing kids, smuggling kids. They're smuggling drugs. Some of them are good people. Most of them are good people. But they're just, if you come in with a kid, you're free to go. You can pass right through. No questions asked. Apparently they don't check people for drugs. There's been an influx in the amount of fentanyl in the street. And the Biden administration is going to react by building a border wall that's already paid for. So, and they're only building 20 miles of border wall. Here's our logo here. The Citizens Report for God and Country. And then make sure that you print these off, download it, email it, send it to people, whoever you can. At the bottom of the page here it says, visit www.thecitizensreport.com for analysis videos, PDF copies of this report and other content. So that's the full report. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you have a good night.